In politically correct terms, manifest destiny was the belief that the United States was destined, by God, to expand across North America. Realistically, it was the U.S. land grab. Welcome back to Explaining Difficult Stuff. We will explain how manifest destiny was implemented, and the effect it had on the Indian nations. From 1812 to 1867, because it was thought to be divinely inspired, anything could be justified to accomplish this territorial expansion. All of what is now the United States was originally the ancestral homeland of indigenous peoples. However, beginning in pre-colonial times, all the land was systematically claimed by other countries, without regard for the people living there. Let's talk about territorial expansion. The United States was created on July 4, 1776, with a Declaration of Independence by 13 British colonies. In 1783, after the Revolutionary War, the Treaty of Paris recognized their independence, and doubled the size of the colonies. No Indians were involved in these proceedings. The next significant expansion occurred in 1803, when President Thomas Jefferson purchased 828,000 square miles of land from France, for $15 million. This is known as the Louisiana Purchase. Then, in 1819, forced by military pressure, Spain's claims to Florida were ceded to the U.S. Next, the Republic of Texas was annexed from Mexico in 1845, which led directly to the Mexican-American War. The belief that the United States was destined by God to expand began around 1812. However, the first time the term manifest destiny was used was in 1845. James Polk used it as his campaign slogan. After being elected, he signed the Oregon Treaty with Britain in 1846, adding the Washington, Idaho, and Oregon territories. Since Mexico never acknowledged the annexation of Texas, President Polk provoked a war, which ended with the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo in 1848. By this, the United States acquired the land of 7 future states. To control all the land that would be the 48 contiguous states, only one piece of land was needed. In 1853, a deal with Mexico, called the Gadsden Purchase, completed the process. Beyond the 48 contiguous states, Alaska was purchased from Russia in 1867, and in 1893 the United States overthrew the Hawaiian government and took control of the islands in 1898. Now, let's go back to the beginning, and discuss the people who lived on these lands. It was originally theirs, and they wanted to keep it. Unfortunately, it was our divine destiny to take it from them. Britain treated the tribes as sovereign nations, but the colonials viewed them as heathens, standing in the way of white progress and Christianity. As we discuss how the whites treated the Indians, remember that their actions, at times, were supported by government policies, treaties, and laws. Early colonists believed that they owned the land, and that Indians could only live on it. However, they soon concluded that the Indians had to be removed. Further, wherever they went, they were required to adopt white ways, including becoming a Christian. This did not go over well. As mentioned earlier, after the Revolutionary War, the colonies doubled their size, and claimed all of the additional lands. The excuse used to justify this land grab was that since the Indians were on the losing side of the French and Indian War with Britain, they forfeited their land. The United States signed 358 treaties with Indian nations. The humane and respectful treatment prescribed on paper rarely translated into action. By 1834, Kansas, Wyoming, Nebraska, and Oklahoma were set aside as Indian Territory, where Indians were forced to relocate. In fear that the Indians would never be Americanized while living on a reservation, the policy of allotment was designed to eliminate the tribal concept. Those who left their tribe were allotted land and given citizenship. For the Indians, this proved disastrous. From land already given to them, parcels that were not allotted were reclaimed by the government. Consequently, land owned by Indians decreased by 65% from 1890 to 1935. Federal policies, starvation, and disease reduced the Indian population from 8 million before the colonists arrived, to an astonishing 237,000 by 1900. Today, the United Nations defines genocide as acts committed with the intent to destroy a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group. These acts include killing members, inflicting conditions to bring about its physical destruction, causing bodily or mental harm, imposing measures intended to prevent childbirth, forcibly transferring children. With these acts in mind, Comment below, whether or not you think it was genocide. We covered a lot in about 5 minutes. But we did it. The link in the description leads to a detailed article about the subject. If you found this informative, subscribe to Explaining Difficult Stuff. It gives us the incentive to keep reaching out to people of all ages with our videos. Thanks for watching Explaining Difficult Stuff. By the way, there is no cure for curiosity.